We decided we wanted to put a closet in this room. I had never done a framing project before, so I did some research, tried to learn what I could about how it should be put together, and I did this quick model of what I wanted it to look like and where all the boards needed to go. I'm not going to go through the project in detail, but I'm going to show you my process and throw a few tips out there that I learned. Tip number 1 is you can use a square with a circular saw to cut straight across your 2x4s. Once I knew where these were going to go, I measured, cut a slot in the molding, and I made sure it was square to both walls, or as square as it could be. And then I marked it and cut the carpet out. Now, tip number 2 is use a sharp knife and don't cut across your body so you don't cut yourself. This knife is not sharp. It was miserable. I have since bought a new one. Once the carpet and pad were removed, I could nail that plate straight to the subfloor. And then I worked on the rest of the pieces of the plate and put them down as well. And once those are down, I know where the top plate needs to go, up on the ceiling. And so a little measuring, and I just used a Sharpie to mark the positioning and some lines so I could keep them straight and make them match where the plate was on the floor. Tip number 3 is you can use an oscillating tool to cut a notch in molding. It may mark the ceiling, but the top plate will cover that. It worked great. When you attach the top plate, make sure that it's attached to the ceiling joist so it's nice and sturdy. And then those side studs are attached to studs in the wall to make them sturdy as well. Little gentle persuasion to get it lined up. And I just toenailed it with a big nail gun. They did not go all the way in. I don't know if it was the angle or what all it had to go through, but tip number 4 is hammer still works as a hammer. And it's okay to celebrate the wins. And we were celebrating there that it was straight up and down and square. I used screws on this one just because it was easier at that angle, and I wanted to try that. They were actually hard to put in there, but it worked. Tip number 6, check your load before you climb up, because inevitably you're going to run out and have to climb down and back up again. And there's plenty of information out there on how to frame something, how far apart the studs need to go, how to frame a door and get it ready to hang there. So do some research, figure it out. The door frame does have extra support there. The header goes up and down to support the weight of the door a little more and keep the frame square. But keeping it square is what's important, and the size that you make it is specific to the door you're going to hang. That's very important. So be sure to read up on that before you start something like that. So you can see this whole room is paneled, and this paneling does not match the paneling that's in the room, but that's okay because we're going to paint it after it's up anyway. So I laid it up there, nailed it into the studs, just using the pin nailer, or the finish nailer. And once it was covered, I could do molding around the bottom and the corners and around the top. And it was as close as I could get to the molding that was already there. And since we're painting it anyway, the color didn't matter. Now sometimes a handsaw is the right tool. This was a used door that I bought at Habitat for Humanity Restore, and so I just had to route out a little more for the hinge to fit. And the hinges I bought there also, and so you can save some money by buying used things. I marked the location on the door frame that was going to go in and routed it out as well. Now these have to be sunk like this so the door will actually open and close. The hinge has to be out of the way. So these are just simple poplar boards that I made sure were cut to the right lengths and nailed them together. And they're slightly smaller than the opening, and you use shims to make sure it goes in square. And at this point, my camera on that wimpy tripod that I had was knocked over by one of my children, and it landed lens first. So a tip is get a good stable tripod. So the rest of this is shot on my GoPro while I was ordering a new lens and getting it delivered. This inner piece is the door stop. When you close the door, it's what the door hits. Anyway, it worked out all right. Door closes, it's square. It looks decent. So I got the door molding and put around there, made sure it covered what it needed to cover. And after a coat of paint and a doorknob, we had a closet. Now I did put shelves and hangers in there, and it's a pretty simple design and build. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching.